I want you to stop for a moment. Not tomorrow. Not after this video. Right now. Stop and ask yourself one honest question. How long have you been learning English? 1 year? 3 years? 5 years? Maybe more. And now ask yourself the second question. The harder one. Are you actually fluent? If the answer is no, I need you to stay with me. Because today I am not going to tell you that learning English is easy. I'm not going to give you 5 magic tips that will make you fluent in 30 days. I'm not going to make you feel good about where you are. I'm going to tell you the truth. The real reason you are not fluent yet is not the method. It is not your accent. It is not your grammar. It is not the lack of a good teacher. It is you. It is the habits you keep. It is the excuses you believe. It is the comfortable lies you tell yourself every single day. This video has 15 lessons. Each one is a mirror. Some of them will be uncomfortable. Some of them will make you feel a little ashamed. That is okay. Shame, when it is honest, is not an enemy. It is a starting point. Are you ready to start? Then let's begin. Lesson 1. You are not learning. You are consuming. Let me ask you something specific. How many English videos have you watched this month? How many podcasts? How many lessons? How many hours of content? Oh, tell me. How many hours did you speak English this month? Be honest. Really honest. Most people who call themselves English learners are not learners at all. They are consumers. They watch videos about English. They listen to podcasts about English. They read tips about English. They collect methods, apps, and resources like trophies. But they do not speak. They do not write. They do not produce anything in English at all. Here is the truth. Watching someone swim will never teach you to swim. You can study the theory of swimming for 100 hours. You can know every stroke, every technique, every breathing pattern. But until you jump into the water, you are not a swimmer. You are someone who knows about swimming. The same is true for English. You are not learning English by watching videos about English. You are learning about learning English. And those two things are completely different. The solution is not more content. The solution is less content and more production. Speak today. Even badly. Even incorrectly. Even alone in a room with no one listening. 1 hour of imperfect speaking will do more for your fluency than 10 hours of perfect listening. Stop consuming. Start producing. Lesson 2. Your comfort zone is your prison, and you chose to stay. Every single day you have moments where English is available. Tourist asks you for directions. You pretend not to understand. A meeting at work is in English. You say nothing and nod. A foreign colleague tries to start a conversation. You smile and walk away. Why? 'Cause you are afraid. You are afraid of making a mistake. You are afraid of sounding stupid. You are afraid of the pause. The silence. The moment when the word you need is not there. So you stay quiet. And you tell yourself you are not ready yet. You tell yourself you will speak when your English is better. But here is what you are not seeing. Your English will never get better in silence. Fluency is built in the uncomfortable moments. It is built in the pauses. In the mistakes. In the sentences that come out wrong. In the conversations that feel embarrassing. Every time you avoid speaking, you are not protecting yourself. You are practicing avoidance. And the more you practice avoidance, the better you get at it. Until avoiding becomes automatic. Until silence becomes your default. The person you admire who speaks English confidently did not get there by waiting to feel ready. They got there by speaking before they were ready. Over and over and over. Your comfort zone is not keeping you safe. It is keeping you stuck. Speak today. Not when you are ready. Today. Lesson 3. You say you don't have time. But you have 2 hours on your phone. I'm going to say something that might make you angry. You have time to learn English. You have always had time. You just chose to spend that time on something else. Think about yesterday. Think about how many minutes you spent on Instagram, on YouTube, on WhatsApp, on Netflix, on any screen that was not teaching you something. Add those minutes up. How many hours? 1, 2, 3. Now tell me again that you do not have time to learn English. You have the time. What you do not have is the decision. You have not decided that English is a priority. You have not committed to protecting even 30 minutes a day. You have been telling yourself that you are too busy while your phone tells a different story. The truth is simple. 30 minutes of focused English practice every single day will transform your fluency in 12 months. Not 30 hours on weekends. Not intense sessions once in a while. 30 minutes. Every day. Without exceptions. The most successful English learners in the world are not the ones who studied the most in a single day. They are the ones who showed up every day. Rain or shine. Tired or energetic. Motivated or not. Consistency beats intensity every single time. You have 30 minutes. You always did. Use them. Lesson 4. Your fear of mistakes is making you worse. Let me tell you something about mistakes that will change how you feel about them. Every mistake you make in English is proof that you are trying. Every wrong verb tense, every mispronounced word, every sentence that comes out backwards is evidence that you stepped into the arena, that you tried, that you used the language. The person who never makes mistakes in English is not advanced. They are silent. But most people are so afraid of making mistakes that they choose silence over participation. They rehearse sentences in their head before saying them. They speak only when they are certain. They correct themselves mid-sentence and lose confidence. They say sorry before they have even finished speaking. And then they wonder why they are not improving. Here is how language acquisition actually works. You speak imperfectly. Your brain registers the gap between what you said and what you meant. Stores the correct version. Next time you are slightly closer. And then slightly closer again. And again. Until one day the correct version comes out automatically, without thinking. That process only works if you speak. Does not work in your head. Does not work in theory. It requires real output in real situations. Mistakes are not the enemy of fluency. They are the mechanism of fluency. Make more mistakes, not fewer. And make them loudly, proudly, and without apology. Lesson 5. You are waiting for perfect conditions that will never come. You are waiting until your grammar is better. You are waiting until you have more vocabulary. You are waiting until you finish this course or that level or this book. You are waiting for the right teacher, the right method, the right moment. There is no right moment. There has never been a right moment. There will never be a right moment. People who became fluent in English did not wait for perfect conditions. They started with bad grammar and small vocabulary. They mispronounced everything. They misunderstood half of what they heard. And they kept going anyway. Because they understood something you have not understood yet. Progress is not built on perfect conditions. Progress is built on imperfect action, repeated consistently over time. The course you are waiting to finish before you start speaking is not a preparation for English. It is a delay of English. The grammar rule you are waiting to master before you open your mouth is not a foundation for fluency. It is a wall you built to protect yourself from the discomfort of trying. Start now. With what you have. With the English you already know. It is more than enough to begin. Perfect English is not the starting point. It is the destination. And you cannot get there without starting. Lesson 6. Passive learning is comfortable because it feels like progress. Here is one of the most dangerous traps in language learning. Feels like you are learning when you are not. You listen to an English podcast and you understand most of it. You feel good. You watch an English movie without subtitles and you follow the story. You feel advanced. You read an article and it makes sense. You feel fluent. But then someone speaks to you directly in English, fast, naturally, in a real conversation, and everything disappears. The words you understood perfectly in the podcast are gone. The sentences you followed in the movie are nowhere. You freeze. Because understanding is not the same as producing. Passive comprehension is not fluency. It is familiarity. You know those words when you see them. But you cannot access them when you need them. Because you have never practiced retrieving them under pressure. You have only practiced receiving them in comfort. The brain stores language differently when it is absorbed passively versus when it is produced actively. Active use builds stronger, faster, more accessible pathways. Passive consumption builds recognition. Not fluency. Stop measuring your progress by how much you understand. Start measuring it by how much you can produce. By how clearly and confidently you can express your ideas in English. By how quickly the right word comes when you need it. That is the real measure. And the only way to improve it is to practice producing, not just consuming. Lesson 7. You compare your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 20. You see someone speaking perfect English on a video and you feel small. You hear a colleague express themselves fluently in a meeting and you feel behind. You watch a creator make jokes in English and you think you will never get there. And then you give up, or you slow down, or you lose the motivation you had just the day before. Because you are comparing your beginning to someone else's result. You see the finished painting and compare it to your blank canvas. You see the marathon runner crossing the finish line and compare it to your first jog around the block. You do not see the years they struggled. You do not see the conversations they got wrong. You do not see the embarrassment, the frustration, the days they wanted to quit. You only see where they arrived. And you compare that to where you are starting. That comparison is not just unfair. It is mathematically wrong. You are not behind them. You are at a different point on the same road. The only comparison that will help you is this one. Are you better than you were 3 months ago? Can you express something today that you could not express 6 months ago? Is your English growing, even slowly, even imperfectly? If yes, you are winning. Not compared to anyone else. Compared to yourself. And that is the only race that matters. Lesson 8. Your native language is your biggest competition. Every time you sit down to think in English and immediately switch to Portuguese, you are choosing comfort over growth. Every time you translate a sentence in your head before saying it in English, you are practicing translation, not fluency. Every time you look up a word in Portuguese to find its English equivalent, you are building a bridge between languages instead of living in one. This is the habit that keeps more intermediate learners stuck than any grammar mistake ever could. You are fluent in Portuguese. Thinking in Portuguese is effortless. And your brain will always choose the effortless path unless you force it to do otherwise. Fluency in English does not begin in your mouth. It begins in your mind. It begins when your thoughts start forming directly in English, without passing through Portuguese first. This is not a natural process. It is a deliberate practice. It requires that you catch yourself translating and force yourself to think in English instead. Even if the English thought is imperfect, even if it is slow, even if it feels strange, start small. When you look at your coffee in the morning, think about the coffee in English. When you are walking to work, narrate what you see in English. When you are making a decision, make it in English. One small thought at a time, you start building a mind that can operate in 2 languages. That is when fluency stops being a goal and starts being a reality. Lesson 9. You think accent is your enemy. It is not. How many times have you avoided speaking English because you were embarrassed by your accent? How many times have you heard yourself on a recording and felt ashamed of how you sound? Let me tell you something directly. Your accent is not the problem. Your silence is the problem. Every non-native speaker of English has an accent. French speakers have a French accent. Japanese speakers have a Japanese accent. German speakers have a German accent. And every single one of them communicates effectively, professionally, and confidently in English. Because they decided that communication matters more than perfection. Native English speakers do not expect you to sound like you grew up in London or New York. They expect you to express yourself clearly. And clarity has nothing to do with accent. Clarity comes from vocabulary, structure, and confidence. The most respected non-native English speakers in the world did not achieve respect by eliminating their accent. They achieved it by speaking with conviction, by choosing their words with care, by expressing ideas with precision and confidence. Your Brazilian accent is not a defect. It is part of who you are. Tells the story of where you came from. Stop trying to erase it. Start focusing on being understood. On being clear. On being heard. The world does not need your perfect accent. It needs your voice. Lesson 10. You memorize words you never use. Open your vocabulary notebook. Or your flashcard app. Or your word list. Oh, tell me. How many of those words did you use in a real conversation this week? Most people study vocabulary the wrong way. They memorize lists. They learn definitions. They test themselves on isolated words. And then those words sit in a notebook and never enter their mouth. Here is the truth about vocabulary. A word you understand but never use is not your vocabulary. It is a stranger you have met but never befriended. It sits at the edge of your knowledge, recognizable but not accessible. You know it when you see it, but when you need it, it is not there. Real vocabulary is the words you can use automatically, under pressure, in real conversations, without stopping to think. And the only way to build that kind of vocabulary is through repeated use in real contexts. Stop studying new words before you have used the words you already know. You have enough vocabulary to have a conversation right now. Use those words first. Say them out loud. Use them in sentences. Use them in stories. Use them until they belong to you completely. Then add new ones, slowly, one at a time. And use those too. 10 words you truly own will serve you better than 100 words you merely recognize. Lesson 11. You quit every time it gets hard. Be honest with yourself right now. How many times have you started learning English with full energy and then stopped? How many apps did you download and abandon? How many courses did you begin and never finish? How many vocabulary lists did you make and never review? How many times did you say this time is different, and then 1 week later you were back to zero? This is the pattern that is keeping you stuck. Not a bad method. Not a lack of talent. The pattern of starting strong and stopping at the first sign of difficulty. And here is what makes it worse. Every time you quit, it becomes easier to quit again. Your brain learns that discomfort is a signal to stop. That difficulty means give up. That slow progress means failure. The learners who become fluent are not the ones who never struggle. They are the ones who keep going when it is hard. Who study when they are tired. Who practice when they are not improving. Who show up on the days when nothing seems to work. Fluency is not built in the good days. It is built in the hard days. The days when you want to stop. The days when progress is invisible. The days when you feel like you have been working forever and gone nowhere. Those days are not signs that you cannot do it. They are the price of doing it. Pay the price. Lesson 12. You are learning English for the wrong reason. Here is a question that will reveal a lot about why you are stuck. Why are you learning English? If your answer is because my boss told me to, or because I need it for a certificate, or because my parents want me to, then I need to tell you something important. External reasons will never carry you through the hard days. They will never get you out of bed early to practice. They will never push you to speak when you are afraid. They will never give you the hunger that fluency requires. The learners who become fluent are powered by an internal reason. Not a requirement but a desire. Not a need someone else created but a fire they feel themselves. Maybe it is the dream of working in an international company. Maybe it is the book they want to read in the original language. Maybe it is the person they want to communicate with. Maybe it is simply the vision of a version of themselves that is more powerful, more free, more capable. Whatever it is, it has to be yours. It has to matter to you specifically, deeply, personally. Find your reason. Write it down. Put it somewhere you will see it every morning before you start. Read it on the days when you want to quit. Let it remind you why you started. Because method will carry you some of the way. Discipline will carry you further. But only genuine desire will carry you all the way to fluency. Lesson 13. The plateau is not a wall. It is a test. At some point in your English journey, progress stopped feeling like progress. In the beginning, every day brought something new. New words. New phrases. New understanding. You could feel yourself improving. And it felt good. Then one day that feeling stopped. You kept studying. You kept practicing. But nothing seemed to change. Your English felt exactly the same as it did 3 months ago. 6 months ago. And you started wondering if you had reached your limit. You had not reached your limit. You had reached the plateau. The plateau is the stage every intermediate learner passes through. It is the long, flat stretch between good and great. Between functional and fluent. Between knowing English and living in English. And most people quit here. Not because they cannot continue, but because they cannot see the progress. Because the improvements at this stage are small and invisible. Because the exciting early gains are over. And the final breakthrough feels impossibly far. But here is what you need to understand about the plateau. The progress is still happening. It is just happening deeper. Your brain is consolidating what it knows. Building stronger connections. Making existing knowledge more automatic and more accessible. It is not a pause in growth. It is a different kind of growth. The people who push through the plateau come out the other side with a fluency that feels effortless, natural, automatic. The people who quit at the plateau spend years wondering why their English never got better. Push through. The breakthrough is closer than you think. Lesson 14. If you do not use English outside of lessons, you will never be fluent. Here is a hard reality that most English teachers will never tell you. You cannot become fluent in a classroom. Not in any classroom. Not in the best classroom with the best teacher and the most expensive method in the world. Classrooms give you structure. They give you feedback. They give you a starting point. But fluency is built in the real world. In the conversations that have no script. In the meetings that go off topic. In the misunderstandings that force you to clarify. In the jokes that require you to think fast. In the moments when English is the only option and you have to make it work. If the only time you use English is inside a lesson, then you are practicing English the same way someone practices swimming without water. You are going through the motions in a controlled environment that will never fully prepare you for the real thing. Change the language of your phone to English today. Follow English-speaking creators whose content you genuinely enjoy. Listen to English music and pay attention to the lyrics. Think in English when you are alone. Write 3 sentences in English every evening before you sleep. Not because these things are magic, but because they make English a part of your daily life instead of a task you complete twice a week. Fluency is a lifestyle. Build it daily. Lesson 15. You are closer than you think. I have spent this entire video confronting you, challenging you, holding up a mirror that shows the habits, the excuses, and the patterns that are keeping you stuck. Now I want to say something different. You are closer than you think. Mean that. Not as a comfort. Not as a kind word to end the video on a good note. I mean it as a fact. If you are watching this video and understanding everything I am saying, your English is already strong. The vocabulary I use today, the structures, the rhythm, the ideas. You followed all of it. In a foreign language. Without stopping. That is not nothing. That is years of work paying off in real time. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not as wide as it feels on the hard days. It is a gap of habits, not ability. A gap of consistency, not intelligence. A gap that can be closed by anyone who decides to close it and keeps making that decision every single day. You already have the ability. What you need now is the commitment. The daily decision to show up. To speak even when it is uncomfortable. To practice even when progress is invisible. To keep going even when everything in you wants to stop. Because on the other side of that commitment is something real. A version of you that thinks in English. That dreams in English. That walks into a room full of English speakers and feels completely at home. That version of you already exists. It is waiting for you to become it. So stop waiting. Stop consuming without producing. Stop speaking only when you feel ready. Stop comparing your beginning to someone else's end. Stop making the same comfortable excuses that have kept you at the same level for years. And start. Right now. Today. Not perfect. Just start. Because the only English lesson that will change your life is not the one you watch. It is the one you live. Thank you for watching. If this video shook something inside you, subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below. Tell me honestly. Which of these 15 lessons was the one you needed to hear the most? I read every single comment. I'm here every week. And I will see you in the next one. Now go speak some English.